Hi there, Dave Markham for the Brock Porter. I'm continuing to offer my commentaries on the Fire District news that appeared in your Suburban News and Hamlin Clarkson Herald last Sunday, August 22nd, 2011. And there is a lot of information in here, a lot of which is inaccurate, and I believe that it's important for the taxpayers in the village of Brockport and the town of Sweden and town of Clarkson, who would be members of this proposed fire district, to understand the material that's contained in what's called here the Fire District News. Upon my investigation, I have a knowledgeable source that reported to me that none of the trustees of the village of Brockport were able to review this document before it was published and placed in the Suburban News. None of them was aware of the contents. None of them had read a draft of it. So again, it raises the question of who actually published this. It says Brockport, Sweden, Clarkson Fire District News, but from the information I have, none of the trustees in the village of Brockport were aware of its contents or the information contained therein. So I think it's a misnomer to call it the Brockport, Sweden, Clarkson Fire District News, since the trustees didn't even know what the news was that was being disseminated to their constituents. I'm wondering if the same was true for the council people in the towns of Clarkson and Sweden. Did they have an opportunity to read a draft of this before it was published? There is no name on this, and there's no writer, there's no editor, nobody takes responsibility for it, which again I find very peculiar. A lot of these fire district negotiations have occurred in secret, and now we have this document that appears as a paid newsletter in the edition of the Suburban News, and yet there is no indication of who wrote it or who has produced it. When I've talked to our government officials, none of them actually saw this before it was distributed. So it makes you wonder when it says the Brockport, Sweden, Clarkson Fire District News, whose news it is. Apparently, it's not the news of Brockport trustees who were blindsided by it, as far as I can determine, right along with the rest of the public. Now, on the first page, it talks about the benefits of a fire district, and we've been going through those one by one in previous commentaries. In this commentary, number 6, we're going to deal with 3 of the supposed benefits. Benefit number 6 is referendums for capital expenses will be open to all residents of the district, not just village residents. And I'm understanding that, again, if there are capital expenses or reserves are going to be developed for certain projects, such as building a new fire building or making a major purchase like a new truck, that may, in some instances, have to go to a public referendum. However, as we've already discussed, this is kind of like the school board budget. The voting for fire district commissioners and on their budgets is in the second Tuesday of December. And all the analysis that's been done at the state level as well as at the local level by the Democrat Chronicle has demonstrated that voter turnout is extremely low. It's 1 to 2%, which means in Brockport, Sweden, Clarkson, you'd be lucky if you got 50 or to 100 people out there. So basically, whatever the commissars decide that they want to do in terms of purchasing new equipment or making other capital expenditures is a slam dunk. I mean, they get to do that. There's no oversight or negotiation in the town councils or on the village board. So while they make it sound like they're giving you something, as a practical matter, they're not giving you anything. You got 5 people making these decisions, and they pretty much can get whatever they want. I mean, they develop a annual budget and then can tax you. and you'll have very little say about it. And even if it requires a referendum, there will be so few people who turn out for that referendum that it's pretty much a done deal. And the people who usually turn out for the referendum are special interests. That they would be the firefighters or the firefighters' families or the people who are supporting the purchase of the equipment or the expansion or the development of a new building and so on. So it's no benefit really to the taxpayers. They make it sound like it's a benefit to you. It's not. You're much better protected and you have a bigger voice. If there was the 3 municipal advisory oversight committee, where a much broader section of representatives of the 3 municipalities could discuss these issues and come to some agreement about it, both in the short term and the longer term. Now, the next benefit is the members of the Brockport Firefighters Association Incorporated will stay intact as one unit rather than face the difficult individual choice of membership with other firefighters associations. Well, you know, if there was a tri-municipal oversight committee who was operating and monitoring the development of the fire protection districts, the same would be true. So they're not offering you anything. In fact, the lie behind this is that probably you'd see a drop-off in volunteerism if there was a fire district. Firefighters would no longer be identified with their community. So the last data that I saw 2 months ago was Chief Henry had reported that there was 111 active firefighters in the Brockport Fire Department, 54 of which live in the village of Brockport. That's 49% live in the village of Brockport. There was 20 some that live in Clarkson, which was 25%, and I think only 20 people lived in the village of Sweden, or a town of Sweden, I mean, which was 20%. So almost half of the village of the firefighters live in the village of Brockport. I don't know if they are going to be as excited about providing services to the fire district. They no longer will be providing services to the Brockport Fire Department. And so after 134 years, the pride and roots that have been developed in the Brockport Fire Department are being dissolved. They will no longer be there. And there is already talk that it's difficult to recruit volunteers, and so the fire district may have to move towards paid employees. There'll be paid firefighters, which is extremely expensive. So this idea that Brockport Firefighters Association will stay intact as one unit is just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, that's a sugar-coated statement about what the real nature of the affairs are. And so I think, again, this is a huge mistake. People are going to be less willing to invest their time and energy in a more anonymous bureaucratic fire district than they are in their own community fire department. The next benefit is fire district assets will belong to all the taxpayers who funded the assets, unlike the current arrangement where all assets are the property of only village taxpayers. Well, we've already seen what that amounts to. I mean, that's the biggest bogus statement that you could imagine, particularly in the light of the memorandum of understanding that was developed between the Village of Brockport Board trustees and the town council people, where the village is giving up all the assets, millions of dollars of assets, to the supposed fire district. If I, as a village taxpayer, own those assets, why is the village just giving them away to the fire district? It makes no sense. I mean, so this supposed benefit is an insult. I mean, it belies the the whole thing that the town of Clarkson and the town of Hamlin have demanded, and that is that Brockport give up all its assets to the fire district. I, as a village taxpayer, again, who have been paying for those assets for my lifetime, as long as I've been paying taxes, and just to give them away, it's a very generous thing. But I have a little difficulty with that, particularly when the fire district then is going to turn around and tax me after I've just given them millions of dollars worth of equipment and buildings and gear and so forth. So this last thing, I think, is a real slap in the face to the village of Brockport taxpayers. Fire district assets will belong to all the taxpayers who funded the assets, unlike the current arrangements where all assets are the property of only village taxpayers. Well, if they're only my property, why is the town of Clarkson and the town of Hamlin demanding that we give them up to to this new fire district they want? It makes no sense. At any rate, I think that the best solution here, again, which I have repeatedly stated, is what the Clarkson, Sweden Fire Protection District Study Committee recommended, which is the development of a tri-municipality oversight committee that would govern the operation of the fire department and the ambulance corps, which they already did away with, to benefit all three municipalities. So that's it for this commentary. If you have questions or comments, please leave them. I love to hear them. I notice there are very few comments, which I don't know whether to take that people aren't interested in this topic or they just agree with what I say. My ego says I'd like to believe that people agree with it because they really have no other point of view. That'd be wonderful. But I'm also thinking that maybe that people just don't understand this or they're not interested in the issue. At any rate, that's it for now. Stay tuned for commentary 7 tomorrow. Have a good Sunday. Peace.